realize it, but I am actually on the Marvel Strike Force website right now. I've zoomed in so far. I'm at 300%, so you guys can more easily see the things when we talk about in this video. So they gave us a preview of Taskmaster skills in the Valley Flying, sort of a weekly Q&A, or like sort of the news update. And I didn't think that was worthy of talking about if we just knew like one of his skills, but then they went and dropped his whole kit. So I want to talk about what I think of Taskmaster right now and what I think his role in the game is. There's some other stuff in this article. Versus battle, we already knew about all that. But Taskmaster is what we really care about. So he's going to be an extremely farmable character because he's going to be in one of these character campaigns whenever he releases. So that's going to be awesome to see. And then if we look right here, he is a controller. And then he's a villain, global skill, and also mercenary. So really cool sets of skills there. One thing that's, I think, the most important thing to talk about is the team he belongs on. But we'll get there once we get through the rest of his skills. So his basic attack, really good basic attack right here. He steals 3 positive effects. Awesome. Clears positive effects. I hate positive effects in this game, so I'm all for this. I say here on that one. Another thing, this kind of sort of takes how Taskmaster works, and this is the most accurate they could get Taskmaster in the game. You know, some people said, what if he could mimic skills? But he can't. It's very hard because Taskmaster can't gain powers. He can simply imitate people. So he couldn't do what Captain Marvel does no matter what. So it just is sort of hard for them to do that. And even then, if they said only skill characters, they can't guarantee that every skill character in the game is doing something that Taskmaster could physically imitate. So I think this is the best way you could add Taskmaster to the game. His special is Adaptive Assault. Really interesting skill right here. He'll attack the primary target for damage and apply stun, plus rebound chain to 3 additional targets for additional damage. Counterattack breaks this chain. So this isn't him throwing his shield. A rebound makes it sound like that the shield is bouncing. He commonly has a shield. But it does not sound like it right here. It sounds like he's actually physically getting in there and chaining to 3 additional targets for damage and apply offense down, which is nice. Offense down, always nice to see. So just another solid skill right here. Of course, counterattack breaks this chain just like any other melee chains in Marvel Strike Force. His ultimate is Incendiary Arrow. And he'll attack all enemies for damage. He'll apply blind to the primary target and 3 secondary targets, plus apply bleed for 2 turns to all enemies. And this attack's unavoidable. Bonus attack all targets with bleed for piercing. So kind of interesting because this just seems like Hawkeye's ultimate but better. It's like a lot more blind. Well, I think Hawkeye's can potentially blind everyone. Let's check that out. So here we are looking at Hawkeye's ultimate. He'll attack all enemies for 140% damage, plus apply blind to the primary target, plus 50% chance to apply blind to all targets. So as we can see with Taskmaster, slightly different because he will apply bleed, and it just says right here it applies blind to the primary target and 3 additional secondary targets. There's no chance on it. So less potential total blinds. But it sort of seems, this just seems better because you never get all those blinds with Hawkeye anyways. Plus the bleeds are nice, and bonus attack all targets with bleed for piercing. So this could add some synergy. Say for example you put Deadpool with them and you were fighting minions and Deadpool was applying bleed, then Taskmaster could take advantage of that. So just some interesting potential synergy right there. His passive is where you really get to see his synergy. On spawn, he gets offense up for 2 turns, and he's sort of kind of like Miss Marvel here. He gets an assist now for each on each mercenary villain ally's turn, so he's doing a lot of assisting. He's block chance, block amount, and he gets a counterattack per mercenary ally on spawn, so he gets a lot of and damage per skill enemy. And mercenary villain allies gain damage. So a lot of cool stuff he spawns with. So he's going to be more specifically focused around mercenary villains. So Deadpool, I know I mentioned above, he could synergize with the ultimate, but really where you're putting Taskmaster is with the other mercenary villains. So I think specifically the minions is who he's meant to synergize with, but there's some other mercenaries in the game. For example, Killmonger and Bullseye. Killmonger, I don't think it's worth moving him off the Wakandan team. I think he still is more valued on the Wakandan team. But that is somebody you could move on to the mercenary villain team. I'd say next up is Bullseye. And Bullseye actually, he might have a role in this team. We'll have to see how this sort of moves out. There's nothing that specifies that it has to be minions. The only thing with Bullseye is sort of in a value aspect of minions or Bullseye. I think Bullseye can do more on his own. He can't do much on his own, but I think he'd do more on his own than, say, the mercenary soldier would do on his own. So, you know, maybe you still want to put the minions with Taskmaster simply because Bullseye can still do more on his own without having to sort of piggyback off of Taskmaster. But really interesting that I appreciate that they're leaving it open here and they're not like mercenary villain minions like Hydra. You don't really use, like, they didn't build the synergy for Hydra around Winter Soldier and Crossbones. Like, they're not meant to be on that team. I appreciate here that they're leaving the mercenary villains open, and you can sort of, there's a little room for experimentation with this team, which I like to see, because there's gonna be some variations of this team. I know some people use Bullseye, so just I'm a big fan of this concept right here, where they're opening it up to all mercenary villains. Right here's the war defense, so war defense. But on spawn, he'll fill the speed bar of self and all mercenary allies per mercenary ally, so they'll probably get to go first, likely. And then on turn, this is probably his big gimmick right here. He'll apply taunt to the enemy with the highest damage, and it's very likely that I'll actually land this, and I'll assist allies on non-attack abilities. So say Merc Lieutenant's buffing the team, he'll then get to assist on that. And right here, his fellow mercenaries will get upgrades. So now, will they count Bullseye in this? Will Bullseye get an upgrade? Probably not. I don't think they're really thinking about Bullseye right now. I'm sure they're aware that Bullseye kind of is garbage, but I really think they're meaning for this to be focused around mercenary minions. So again, there could be stuff in the mercenary minions new kit that say if with Taskmaster then this. So hopefully not, because again, I want Bullseye to have a chance to be on this team. I don't want to get completely written out by a bunch of artificial synergy. So I hope they just are I hope it's just more buffs to the mercenary minions, not, hey, you guys get 20% bonus damage when you're with Taskmaster. Like, that'd be kind of not fun. Well, it would be good for them, but kind of not so fun for Bullseye. But really cool here that he's applying taunt to enemies with the highest damage. So essentially, you don't really have to worry about tanks if you have Taskmaster on the team, because he will be applying taunts to the enemy team, and you could sort of go for their damage dealers. So really interesting here. Essentially, Taskmaster sort of just you know, he gets the team moving, a lot of assists, he gives speed, he applies taunt. So he's just sort of he's sort of like a Star-Lord or something like that, like a character who maybe on their own aren't necessarily incredible, but they get the team rolling, and they do a lot to sort of help out the team as a whole. So I'm excited to see Taskmaster in the game. I don't know, overall, I'd probably put him in like the same tier where I put characters like Red Skull, where he's sort of like an A tier, you know, very good, but he's sort of meant to be a leader for a team. Also, one thing I wanted to note on here that was kind of not so fun was right here where they're saying the select characters with a limited time. Essentially, they're talking about the orb we're going to earn for the Taskmaster campaign, and they specifically mention excludes legendary characters, Agent Coulson, and then, well, it excludes legendary characters, comma, Agent Coulson, Minerva, Yo-Yo, and Red Skull. So I don't know. I don't get why they had to specifically mention that. Like, guys, did you have to rub it in all our faces? Like, I don't know. I don't think we usually assume legendary characters are in the orb. We just look at the orb when it comes to the game, and we're like, oh, okay, this is who's in it. So I don't know. Maybe, I guess it means maybe these characters will have the covert trait, because they're saying that these characters won't be in the orb. So I don't know. I would have rather them just give a list of who's in the orb, as opposed to being like, hey guys, these are all the good characters. Well, legendary characters I understand, but with Agent Coulson, Minerva, Yo-Yo, and Red Skull, they're like, hey guys, don't forget, Agent Coulson, Minerva, Yo-Yo, and Red Skull are very useful. We're not gonna let you farm them. So you guys have to say excludes. You have to do that. You have to rub it in our face. So nothing else too much to hear and note. Also, well, one thing that is good for me is Corvus Glaive is getting a second blitz, so we're capable of farming him completely free to play without opening up any orbs. If you do one blitz, get 21 shards plus the 15 for your milestone, and then you run it again next time he comes around. We'll all unlock Corvus Glaive for free, so that's awesome. Happy to see that. No need to buy Corvus Glaive orbs, guys. And then that's about it in terms of note. We'll have to wait for the 4.0.0 patch notes, but excited to see Taskmaster. Happy to see some mercenaries get a little bit more use. So I think this will be an interesting patch. Let me know what you guys think about Taskmaster down below. What teams do you think you're going to use? Actually, that's that's something I'd really like to know. Who are you planning to use as the other 4 characters on the team? We'll have to see how they rework the mercenary minions. I hope it's not going to be like, haha, all mercenary minions get bonus damage when they're with Taskmaster, because then they're going to be like, Bullseye's just like left in the corner. But assuming they don't do something like that, what's the team you're going to use? I'm excited to hear about that down below. And that being said, what do I really know? I am only an 18-year-old. I hope everyone can have a happy and healthy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.